That lime is a beautiful colour. I think my heart rate dropped about 15 beats when I saw the lime. I'm calm. Ooh, it's wonderful to see you. Queen Megan, it's been so long since I last saw you. It is wonderful to see you. Good morning. Do you want to say hello to the universe?
Good morning, universe. How is everybody?
Better for seeing you. And look, Mary and you're both on the sort of right-hand side of my screen in red. And Julie's in sort of this very fascinating, posh, sort of pinky red on my left-hand side. So it's all happening, the glamour. And Doug is in the middle of my screen. Doug, have you just had a fight with somebody? Have you been wrestling this morning?
No, it's just early in the morning and I've just got out of bed. So
that's fantastic. Because I tell you what, I wouldn't take you on, mate. I wouldn't take you on. I was going, Doug's come tough for digital.
No, yeah. So it's not all an illusion.
No, it's never an illusion. It's wonderful to see you, superstar. It's brilliant. And Kate's in. Good morning, Kate, in very, very beautiful white, a crisp white.
Yes, it's white linen today with jeans. So back to the 60s.
See, your life is just together. A woman who can just be as together as you are every day. It's unbelievable, Kate.
I'm not every day.
You are. You are. We've lost the rain for a second. So the rain is obviously busy talking with other people wearing lime because we're just too visually offensive for it at the moment. Sue's in. We haven't got Sue's image yet. But Sue, I hope you can hear us, darling one.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you look gorgeous too. Look at that top. Oh, yes.
And can I say, Eunice sends her apologies for a lovely reason. It's her birthday today, and all the grandchildren and the girls have turned up at their place.
So the first thing we need to say is a beautiful birthday to Queen Eunice, which I'll do more personally and formally later, but we love you, Eunice. That is fantastic. Adrian's in. We can't manage without Adrian. You're legendary. Queen Bree's in. Good morning, beautiful Bree. It's wonderful to see you. Thaisia is back. How big a fan are we of you? So we might see you at some point. Good evening to you. And the light of our lives, our favourite redhead, looking glamorous, Kyles.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry I've missed you for a few weeks. It's been pretty hectic.
Well, there's been sort of lots of children issues, and I've seen more beautiful flowers from the entirety of Australia. My goodness, I didn't know you were into the gardening flower thing, Kyles.
Yes, very big gardener. It's my happy place. I'm often out there with my headphones on listening to your vlogs. So
it was all going well to the last bit of that sentence, really, wasn't it? Oh, Carl's unbelievable. But darling, isn't it a beautiful thing? I think it's so lovely, and it's so. And can I say how fantastic is it in regional locations? And we talk a lot about regional locations on this particular gig that we all share. That there are activities like gardening and pride in the environment. I love that, and sort of there was like a show, wasn't there? Like a prize. Everyone looks at people's gardens and things, wasn't that?
Yeah. Well, that's what we got third place for our footpath garden, and my daughter got first place for budding gardener. So we're pretty happy with that. So got little trophies and everything.
Julie, how lovely is that? Isn't that sort of brilliant? Oh, thanks for that, Julie. I just get a nod from Julie now, the great sage. And can I just say good morning, Julie?
It is. And I heard someone in Adelaide, their municipality actually pays them to beautify their gardens, which I wish would happen on my side too.
Look, I agree too. And I don't know if anybody else, I'm slightly fixated and my eyes are watering looking at the wonderful objects behind Julie. Yes, my eyes are, there's all sorts of shapes there that my brain is boggling, Jules. They're looking amazing, mate.
Oh, thank you. I was actually wondering where that, I hated it. Candle holder. I thought that I'd got rid of it, but my husband must have stacked it somewhere. I got rid of it's pear. It's other side, so it's got to go as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, the shaping is just, I think it's glorious as a sort of combination. It's unbelievable. And of course, we're going straight to the rain. Can I say good morning, Jamie Quinton, who I will be seeing at 6 p.m. at Sydney Airport this evening.
I will say good afternoon. It's 12:30 here.
Yes. Oh, and so in Auckland. So Jamie, darling one, thank you for all that you do. You come along when you're ahead of school. You're a little bit busy, so we appreciate you and love you very, very much. So Thesis just said, we're not going to see her beautiful face because she reckons she's sick. Darling, you will always be magnificent, but you speak when you feel like it, darling. And Lorraine, straight in, Dale. Come on, Lorraine.
Well, it was just in relation to the gardening conversation with Kylie, because I've spoken to so many Australians. Do you know about espaliering? You do. Okay. Well, you're the first Australian person I've known that has actually. What do you mean? So I normally show them pictures of espaliering fruit trees. So
Really?
I've got 4 apple trees that I've been shaping for about 4 years into candelabras.
Oh,
So
nice.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
4 and then 4 off of them, and they're now coming. They're now about this beautiful. Anyway,
I have tried with my apples, very dismally failed, but
I wanted
we-
an English cooking apple because you can't get them here. So I've got a Bramley cooking apple that I managed to find from Victoria, I think it was.
nice.
Tiny twig. And now, yeah, I'm getting apples, but they're a tripod. You need like 3 different to pollinate. Anyway, yeah, I'm big into gardening.
If we rename the country to Australia, everyone will know about it.
Oh,
Yeah, well, because obviously in England there was very small gardens, so the English devised it, and you can grow them in all different shapes, train them up trellises, and they just look magnificent. Yeah.
See, I've learned so much already. It's 9:05 and I've learned so much. But can I also say,
I haven't heard that term and I have no idea what you're talking about, but I love gardening.
oh, that's fantastic, Brie.
it's become the gardening show.
It's become the gardening
What's
show.
that?
Oh, yeah, this is, yeah. Fantastic.
Funny. What's that term mean?
Yeah, well, what's the term? So, Lorraine, give us the term again, because
So
obviously.
espaliering. So you're basically training a tree to grow in a particular style that you want, and they're all different. So you can train them to grow in a fan shape. So rather than having a traditional fruit tree where you can't actually get to the fruit because they grow so dense and high and the sun doesn't get to the underlayers, if you espalier them and you put them up against a fence, then the fruit ripens better because it gets more sun, and it takes up less space, and you can put multiple in the same hole.
Right.
And you can just
I've got 4
Beautiful.
avocado trees that are ready to be planted. Where I am, wasn't sure if the frost was going to kill them, so I've left them out in pots for winter, and they're still alive. So
That's
I think
brilliant.
yeah, I want to grow them.
Who knew this was the thing? And the other funny thing that's occurring that our wonderful asynchronous viewers don't know is while we've been talking, all these references appeared in the chat about all of this as well. So we've learned so much today, but we've got some requests, can I say? We've now reached the point of digital office hours where we've got requests of topics that people would like us to talk about, but we need to start with our live people. Now, are there any, and Adrian, who knew this had become a thing, Adrian? It's just 3 months in, mate, but we'll start with any questions we've got live, and of course Doug's straight in, so Doug's obviously just come from the car park and fought some people, so Doug start us off, mate.
Oh no, I just got to stop laughing. Does CDU have a poster competition thing for PhD students?
You and I were mates. Maybe we were a wrestling tag team, Doug, in the last life. My intention next year is to introduce that. But what I've done, and we talked about this with Mary too, when Mary was talking about her profound 3-minute thesis success. And I said, what I need to do is when we do events like that, there's got to be a training going into it. So everybody, even if you don't win and do fantastic things like Mary does, like Mary wins and stuff, don't do stuff like that. Then at least you get the training on the way through. So thesis will do, organising ideas, dissemination, oral, and then do the 3-minute thesis. And Doug, the same thing with the posters. I want a poster competition. We will do it. It's great. But I want to make sure there's sort of a month where we're training people in all the different templates and visual skills. So yes, that will be in place next year and pretty early in next year to make sure that's a goer, even if people want to participate or not. Does that make sense, Doug? So the people might want to do a poster, but it's nice if they get the skills and maybe do it the year after as well.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
What a great question. I'm
definitely well worth doing, that's for sure. And for me, I actually did it because there's a State Heritage Conference on in Western Australia in October, and I applied to do. They want a 4-minute thesis, So I applied for that and they accepted. And so when the 3-minute thesis competition came along at my university, I thought, well, this is going to be a great way to prepare for it. And they did have they had a couple of really good sessions with these 2 guys who went through how to do a presentation. They were 2 guys who do TEDx here in Perth. So if someone does TEDx in Darwin, it might be worth seeing because they're real experts in how to get your message across very quickly, how to engage people immediately, and then how to summarize what you're doing. It was very useful.
With a slide too, Mary. I mean, that's the other gift of TEDx. Look, it's interesting. Look, we do everything in the Territory. So, there's somebody, we all have multiple jobs in the Territory, same as Norfolk Island, Megan. Everyone has about 15 different jobs, right? So I'll find that human. But that's brilliant. But Mary, well said. And Kate, straight in, darling, talk to us.
I just want to say I'm really disappointed about poster presentations. For those of you in the UK, I've presented at the Harrogate Wounds UK conference on several occasions, but not from 3 or 4 years, maybe, always held in freezing November. And I've presented posters there, but this year they've already announced that there'll be no more visible posters. Everything you want to look at is online. So you can't actually walk into a hall and see all these wonderful posters like we used to years ago, which is very sad.
And Kate, my argument, and part of what I would be teaching next year for our CDU crew, is that an online poster presentation, they're different modes. They're different modes. Paul can talk about this in the comments later on, but they're different modes. So an online poster is very, very different from an analog paper, cardboard-based poster. And they're all of value, but they're actually different things. But I'm a big supporter of people putting this in their thesis. So making sure that they have appendices in place so that they can, they can do a poster and link to it and the examiner can see it as well. But yeah, Kate, I love posters. I've never done them for my particular disciplines. That hasn't been sort of the way we do things, but I'm a big believer. Fantastic. Now, are there any other questions or should we take the requests? Are you ready for our requests?
I've got a quick question, Tara.
Oh, Adrian, let's go, brother. Come on.
It's just in relation to integrative lit reviews. I'm doing an exegesis, and all the exegesis that I've read or looked at don't have a separate literature review section.
Correct.
My supervisor is big on literature reviews and systematic literature reviews, and so I'm kind of, I guess, anticipating that conversation about whether or not I can just make it integrated, because it does seem like it should be integrated. Because
yes.
But I can see the value also in having a separate section as well. So just, I wondered if there's a quick note. You did mention it in one of your vlogs. So yeah, just wondering if you could.
Yeah, so look, almost all of my students do integrated literature reviews. And Adrian, just so you know, I'm so old. In the humanities and the theoretical social sciences, we never used to do a literature review chapter. It would be embedded throughout the thesis. So what's happened is, with the greatest respect to the physicists that I sleep with, what's happened is, as the sciences and the scientific methodologies have moved through all disciplines, then the assumption is, right, well, we will have this template for how a thesis is, and that's a literature review chapter and methods, and this is how it looks. And actually, that's simply not the case. There is a diversity of theses as exists through a diversity of disciplines. So in the humanities and the theoretical social sciences, an integrated literature review is common. And then it's intensified when we're doing an artifact exegesis, because as I've described, the exegesis is a bonsai thesis. Everything that's in the thesis is there. It's just smaller and more beautiful. So an integrated literature review is important because the literature needs to be in situ in the topics that you're talking about. So if we use our wonderful Maeve as an example, she's a great example, I think, Jamie. She's got a chapter on psychogeography and a chapter on sound, right? So we're going through particular tropes to lead into her novel, right? So in the psychogeography chapter, there are 70 references, a huge literature review on psychogeography, before then showing how psychogeography configures memory and the novel itself, right? So you need the literature in situ to build up the exegetical component that hooks out into the artifact. How are we going? So the notion that we need to continue to return the doctorate its history, Adrian, and a literature review chapter has not always existed in the humanities and the social sciences. It's always been integrated, but people have forgotten.
It's also integrated in the sciences, by the way.
It can as well. That's exactly right.
So I'm personally not a fan of a literature review chapter. If you have, in the sciences, we might have a theoretical background or some sort of establishment of the research field that has a literature review as its main focus. But when you actually conduct your investigation and you are stepping the reader through the data and the interpretation, you should have references to published work to ground, I don't want to use the word ground, let's not use the word ground, to connect the outcomes of your investigation with other relevant literature. So it's kind of thread throughout. It's not just isolated in one part. And students who get taught to do a literature review chapter tend to do it in the first part of their candidature, and then they forget about the literature until the very end when they're going to write it up. And you kind of need to keep on it the whole way through.
Brilliant. I was going to say, Jamie, the only time I've seen it really effectively used in sciences is when there's a interdisciplinary, so nanoscale science. There's interdisciplinary science, ecology, coastal science, then you absolutely have that integrated literature review. So Adrian, just use the argument that you're configuring evidence. What research is about is configuring evidence, and an integrated literature review presents the enabling evidence for you in the chapter, and then you build your original contribution to knowledge on it. So the literature review, having a literature review chapter and a methodology chapter, very clunky, very Lego, click. And knowledge is elegant, and an integrated review is quite elegant. Am I convincing you?
You are, and it's an iterative study, so, it just works.
We've got a beautiful friend. Hello, darling. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah. Hello. You can say hi, Pippa. Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, darling.
Publishing. So I've been invited, but I misread the email, and then I've been invited again. And this email suggests that this journal has an impact factor of 1.5, and they're interested in me submitting short review or a short commentary based off of something I've already published.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how do I critically analyze whether or not this is a great journal to publish in?
Yeah, Bree, what a great question. Look, unfortunately, publishing is basically now, the academic publishing is the equivalent of meth dealing. And basically journals are dealing in meth. And so, Bree, invariably we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count, and we all do probably get these weird emails. If we've written something, some random person writes, you go, oh, Professor Brabazon, I really enjoyed that random article you wrote 15 years ago on something. And, in fact, I got one this morning. Right. So I wrote an article on COVID and claustropolitanism. And an editor with the Journal of Medical Research emailed me today and said, oh, we were very excited by this article. Would you like to contribute? So, Bree, invariably when you get the spruik that way, it's almost always no. Almost always no. It's different with book chapters. If an editor of a book contacts you, even that's rare, but that's a bit more dinkum. But there is no doubt that when a journal contacts you, the first answer is no. And then
that's why I didn't read the email initially, and then it seems like they've reached out again.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh, okay, I might look and see what this journal actually is.
Yeah.
You'll know. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So look, I think sorry, Bree.
Sorry, I don't know what impact factor 1.5 means. What the hell does that mean?
Jamie.
It's new for me.
Jamie.
So the impact factor is the average number of citations an article in that journal gets per year. 1.5 is not considered to be very high. Depends on the discipline, actually. So, yeah.
Good on you, Pepper.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Bree, darling, what I would recommend for you, particularly the wonderful areas in which you're working, go to the directory of open access journals, www.doaj.org. And you can put in all the wonderful areas in which you are working. These are authentic journals that are verified and checked, and you can click no processing fees. So there's none of the weird authorship processing fees, and they've all been verified magnificently. It's a wonderful collection of journals. So Bree, great question for asking, because we all get a bit flattered, like some random writes to us and goes, you know, we love your work. Would you publish with us? And of course, they're meth dealers, right? So it's like, I have meth. Would you like some of my meth? And you go, well, not hugely. Really, we would love our meth. So yeah, no, they're desperate and dateless, and you're better than that. And go to the great journals in the directory of open access journals, and straight to Queen Kate. Come on.
I just want to make comments about literature reviews. Now, I've been at uni for 100 years. I've got 5 uni degrees. And I started off doing ordinary literature reviews in the olden days, but then along came, oh, you've got to do a systematic review. They're so hard to do. You need 20 authors, all looking at maybe none of the, and I've done systematic reviews, I won't be doing any more, because the authors and co-authors had no bedside clinical experience of wounds, nasty wounds, which is what I write about. And what the research findings show are nothing to do with the clinical bedside wound. And then I was asked to do, I did a couple of systematic reviews for Cochrane, and then I was asked to do a meta-analysis.
Yes.
Same thing. I won't be doing them anymore. They're too difficult. I'd rather just have a story.
And Kate, I think that's beautifully said in a lot of areas, like clinical research, but I also think, and Sue, we talked about this last week, allied health, interdisciplinary stuff, the systematic review, and it's a big deal in nursing. It's used a lot in nursing, but it's too tight. It's too tight. And if you're trying to do really innovative, progressive, I'll use the word progressive research, the literature review gives you that space to transcend and transform that a systematic review doesn't. Talk to me, Kate.
And the relying on the findings from a systematic review and meta-analysis was described beautifully years ago. Those findings, relying on them is like sitting on a 3-legged stool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe you can add to that, sitting on a 3-legged stool after half a bottle of scotch. Yeah, doesn't it?
Talking about publishing, for those of you, when you find your favorite editor, and I found mine, Tara, 3 years ago or something, a man, an Asian Journal of Medical Sciences editor, who said, I love your work. I went, do you? And I've now published 3 papers with him. I've reviewed several papers for him, and I've just submitted another one, my MRSA paper. I won't go into detail about that, but Tara knows I wasn't allowed to publish that 3-4 years ago, but I've now sent it to him. I chopped it down to his word limit, and I've sent it to him. So I'm hoping to find out in the next month or so whether he's accepting that, because I'll be thrilled to bits.
And Kate, that's brilliant. You've captured something beautiful there, that when any of us as academic writers, and Megan, I'm looking straight at you, when any of us as academic writers find a great editor, hold on to them while you can. Hold on to them while you can, because they're really great relationships. And I want Sue to particularly find that sort of research and that sort of connection with her work. So you hold on, and of course, they're often transitory relationships, Kate, because the editor moves on, the publisher moves on. But while they're working, so invariably I've published books in like clusters and trilogies with one editor at one press, and then they've moved on, and then I've moved on and found a new one. So while it's working, go for it, Kate. You're brilliant. And he's a wonderful gentleman. Mary's straight in. Now, Mary, where are you on this? Oh, exciting.
I just wanted to say with the lit review, I wanted to do an integrated one in my master's thesis, and my supervisor said, no, they'll be looking for just a chapter. And so I went ahead and did it, and actually doing it helped me point out the gap. So it did, that was quite useful. Even if you end up integrating it later, I do suggest write a whole thing, just get all the literature down, and then you might say, look, there's actually very little on this. There's a couple of tiny little books, and that's that, you know, on this particular topic out of all of the ones you're writing about. So it can be very useful that way to map the knowledge about the topic you're writing on.
Mary, really well said. And that's why in a confirmation of candidature, often one of the variables people want is a literature review, not because it's summative assessment, but because it's formative assessment. So it is forming you as a scholar, it's forming your argument. So Adrian, that's why early on you show there is a gap. It's a diagnostic activity, but remember, we're writing this for the examiners, and the examiners want a good, coherent argument. And once you've proven the gap, you need to fill it. So Mary beautifully said. Now, wow, Kylie, it's all happening. Any other questions? Jamie Quinton, are you straight in, Jamie Quinton?
Only the comment I put in the chat, which is it's important that each candidate knows what normal looks like. So you have to read other theses, and your supervisor will probably be tethered to what normal looks like, and they'll try to dictate to you what normal looks like, which you probably should not necessarily just blindly follow. But the more familiar you are with what normal looks like in your disciplinary field, the more empowered you are as to whether you follow it, or if you decide not to follow it, you have at least you know what you're up against, and then you can think about how you approach it differently.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
May I jump in, Tara?
Kyle,
Sorry. Just while we're talking
Jump in
about
after.
journals and articles, sorry, Brianna. I just wanted to share with the group that I submitted my second paper the night before last, and it's with the editor at the moment. So I know at least it hasn't been rejected yet for 2 days. So, but yes, very excited. And my supervisor, when I met with him yesterday, used the word novel. He said it's a very novel paper. So hopefully they'll read that. And I went, well, isn't that what a PhD is supposed to be about? Something novel.
Not at reason.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he meant it that way, but I'm very excited. So, long time coming.
Kyle's, congratulations! You really deserve that. You have worked your guts out on that, and you are really novel. You are really taking risks, and you're really courageous. It's great work, Kyle's. Well done. And straight to our Bree. Bree, darling, were you going to say something, Angel?
I've already forgotten. There's a very long comment in the comment section.
Probably from Jamie.
About publishing. So should we go to that one, or what was I going to say? I'm resonating with Jamie's comments that I'm pretty sure I'm not doing what's normal in my field. So trying to find the right audience is going to be difficult.
Yes, and from my current husband to my late husband, Steve always used to say, and used to say it to students, thousands of students around the world, he used to say, we focus all our energy in a doctorate on very, very small things. All that actually matters are two people, your examiners. So we need to find examiners in affinity with the thesis. And so all the rubbish that we talk about, actually the examination, the examiners, is all that matters. So that's your audience.
So I'm challenging nursing theory. So yeah, it's hard.
Look, nursing,
because we're quite bound by the theories at the moment.
Oh, Bree, I talk about nursing and the nursing professionalisation of nursing and the movement into universities quite a lot. It's a very I'd love someone to do the history of nursing in our universities around the world. It would be a wonderful thesis because it's a very complicated professionalisation protocol made more intense because of gender and all the rest of it as well. So it's a complicated story, but Bree, part of that story you're telling. So I'm thrilled.
Well, I'm learning the history, so yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. So Jamie, then to wonderful Lorraine. Jamie, darling.
Sorry, Lorraine. Just very quickly, my comment said that, if you know what normal looks like and you take something approach that isn't, then you need to think about how you take the examiners for the ride. So It's just the approach that you take might be slightly different. But if you're aware of what they might be expecting to see and you take them on a journey that's different from that, and you know that you're taking them on a journey that's different from that, and you put the details in so they can take the journey with you, it makes a big difference. Because if they just binarize the thing and go, your method is incorrect, so therefore you're not getting a PhD, it's not fair, and it kind of dehumanizes you in a way, right? It just
that's already been. Feel like I have already experienced that. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
But Brie, it's a great point to explain your movement.
But it's all about the language, I think.
Yes.
It sounds like the language is very important.
And taking people on the journey, Angel, too. That's incredibly important. That explain this is the discourse, this is the dominant discourse in this particular field and why it's the dominant discourse. And then gently take your examiner by the hand and move them away from it and explain why you're doing that, Brie. That'll make a difference. To Queen Lorraine, there's our lady in land.
Thank you. Question for you. So my study, so I've mentioned it a few times, about the group that I'm looking at, who are veterans who've been in warlike operations that are in a motorcycle group.
Yes.
So there's a long history to this actual motorcycle group. They were the Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club, which came about because of the returning from Vietnam and the RSLs shutting the doors on them. And there's a whole history. In 1973, a gentleman called Sandy Harbert made a very low budget Australian film called Stone. And it's a bit of a cult following with Stone. On the 25th anniversary, so the opening scene, there was 400 motorcycles riding through the roads of Sydney. On the 25th anniversary, he put out a call and said, you know, I want to recreate that opening scene. 35,000 motorbikes turned out for it. So, and I've only realised this history with the Stone by talking to the research participants, where the actual back patch comes from. It was he designed it, and he actually gave the rights to the Vietnam Club to use that back patch. So it's copyrighted to them. So my long-winded story, but you needed that background. Next month is the 50th anniversary, and they're recreating the run again. So now my question is, do I somehow, it's going to be really difficult for me to attend, do I attend and write about that from the research and add that into my thesis? Because that's not how my thesis started. What's your thoughts?
Oh, my Lord.
Don't do it, Lorraine, because it's like 1,600 kilometres or something. Like, it's a long bike ride for me to do.
Look, Lorraine, I'm so excited. I've never been on a bike, but I'm so excited. I might just do the trip with you. So not only are you going on this trip, I'm going on this trip, and I've never been on the back of a motorcycle.
21st of October it is in Sydney. So if you're around that way, then there will be tens of thousands of motorcycles recreating that scene.
What date in October?
21st of October.
Oh, look, I might have to try and get back because I'm heading down there this afternoon. So Lorraine, this is the gift of research, right?
Yeah.
Things happen during a thesis, during a research project that are like, you know, manna from the gods, right? And this is it. So you need to get 57 cameras, you need to record it, you need to do the soundscape, you need to have a field work booklet, you need to get everything going on. This is going to be, look, it'll be a chapter of the thesis. It's probably going to be a standalone book post thesis. So you need to get everything, make it a chapter. It's probably one of the second last or last chapters in the thesis, but this is a standalone short book. Emerald will take this without a doubt. Emerald Publishing will take it. Probably the University of Minnesota Press. They're doing all these wonderful, weird, gorgeous things at the moment. They'll grab it. So Lorraine, do the data collection, do full immersive data collection. It'll be a standalone book for you. It's a chapter of the thesis. Don't hesitate. Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 50, I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. What? It's this October? Okay, right.
Yeah, just get down there. Get down there. And as I said, I'm sort of with you. If I can, I don't know if I've got the leg strength to be on the back of a motorcycle, but Jamie, can you ride a motorcycle? Can you really? Can I do the word? Is the word pillion?
Pillion.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah. So I can be like the little weird person with the little steampunk goggles. Oh, that could be so cool.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh, but yeah, Lorraine, look, you saw me get quite emotional. It happens so rarely in life. During my thesis, when I was writing about Thatcher and post-youth and race and all the complicated things that were going on, Toxteth riots and all these riots happened while I was writing this thesis up.
Wow.
And I could go, oh, look, no, my story was meant to sort of stop before then, but actually this is the story.
Yeah.
Put the problem into the work. The research gift is the work.
Yeah. There was so much knowledge that I had about the club that I just can't reference because there isn't anything. Oh, gee. And then one of the research participants contacted me a few weeks after the interview, and he said, have you heard of a book called Leatherbread Heroes? And I said, no. He said, it went out of print years ago. He said, I've got a copy. It's a book on the Vietnam Veterans Bike Club. Oh, so, like literally it was like, oh, the heavens opened and this book's landed in my lap. Now I've got reference. I just can't believe it. He said he paid $180 online for it because it's been out of print for so long. The author's since died. Otherwise, I was going to contact him and just do a bit of a follow-up on the book. But it's just unbelievable that this, as you say about research, you just don't know.
Yeah.
One time I had absolutely nothing and all of a sudden there is something.
And Lorraine, this actually links back to Adrian's point that started our gig off today. This is also the fodder of literature reviews. And this is why the literature review in many ways can't be a standalone chapter, because what you've just described there is the methodology in the literature review. So how you have found that book is part of the research project. It's not the literature review, it's also the methodology.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And that story about getting the book is crucial. Again, the only variable I will ever tell, I think I told the story before, but when I was doing the book Tracking the Jack, I went to Murdoch University Library and there was a book written in 1901 called Australia and New Zealand. And it was sitting on the shelf, one of those old hardbacks, right? And, and of course, Australia had just been formed as a nation. And I took it off the shelf and the pages weren't cut. It was like, those old pages, so they would stick to it. So the pages, so no one in the 100 years had read the book. So I had to make a decision. Is this book more valuable for me as a source, taking it as an artifact? So there's been so little interest in the Australia and New Zealand relationship that no one's bothered cutting this book in 100 years. Or do I cut it and sort of destroy the artifact? So I made a decision and I read every second page and I photographed the artifact and put that in the book, because that was a more meaningful statement than anything I would have got from the book itself. And same thing with you. The book, I'm sure, is magnificent, Lorraine, but how it was gifted to you, that's crucial to your methodology.
Yeah, and so interesting because the spine isn't broken. And I said to the person, I've been reading it, but just like that, just so that I don't crack the spine. I said, I'm treasuring it for you. So when I hand it back, it'll come back the way it came to me. I'm reading on a slant.
But can I say also photograph the spine. The books are artifacts. There it is. See, well, that's the thing. I love Kindle books and so forth, and of course all our books, our 14,000 books are in storage, Jamie. And I miss it. But of course there's a tactility to the book, which is crucial. That's part of the story as well.
Can't tell you, Lorraine, the number of times I've loaned a book to someone and they've opened it up, put it on a photocopier, slammed down the lid and gone next page down. I actually have a version, a copy of my PhD thesis that's got the spine wrecked because they've done that. It's just not respectful.
It's just disrespectful. That sent a shiver down my spine that people are just, that's so rude, isn't it? Yeah.
Are you too weird on the... See, I also destroy books, so I'd like to apologise on behalf of my entire family. I read them and I carry them and I put coffee on them.
Don't you dare say you fold the corner down.
No,
Tara.
well, see, I don't, but I wonder, is that a thing? Clearly it is for Lorraine. So the little doggy.
I'm a page folder.
If the wear and tear is your doing and it's your book, then you're recording your history of your engagement with it. But when somebody else does it to your book, that's justifiable homicide.
Yes, does. Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm gonna disappear and
okay.
I'll see you on the other side of the Dutch.
Jamie Quinton, travel well, my angel.
Thunderbird, go.
You too, darling. Oh, now don't preempt my post that's coming when I get to the airport. I'll see you in the motherland.
See you at 6, bub. Bye-bye. Oh, that's great. So colleagues, we do have homework now. Are there any other questions? Now, Thaisha, darling, do you want to speak? Now, people have been talking, it's all happening in the chat. Thaisha, darling, do you want to speak? I know you're sort of worried about your visuality. Do you want to say hi? Can I help her? Oh, your voice is bad. Right. So what's happening? I want to say, oh, bless you. What's happening in the chat, darling? What's occurring? Kylie, can you represent beautiful Thaisha for a second? What's going on? Is she worried about publishing? What's occurring?
I'm just working back. I'm probably
yeah.
There we are.
Oh, it has been happening.
I think there's some questions around, or she's got a comment in there about the difference of meeting remotely and engaging driven by the work, and not just university politics. Look, that's
yes. Look. Is this sort of remote work type stuff? I'm always very, very comfortable about that. I think we all are. Oh, you take care, beautiful Bree. The issue is, I suppose, about the authenticity of the relationship, Thaisha, my love. So, you know, it's about I've never met Megan, but I have an authentic, real digital relationship with you. I care about you deeply. Kate and I have never met physically, although we may meet next week physically, but has it made any difference to us? I would walk over broken glass for Kate, right? So I think it's about honesty, speaking the words. Oh, you know it to be true, Kate. It's speaking the words. And so the notion that you've got to be in an office at a particular time, synchronous and sharing space and time, and that's real work, or that's a real relationship and a real commitment, I think that's nonsense. And I think, you know, COVID proved that. And I think we can never put the snake back in the plane. Right. I think you agree with me, Carls. I mean, obviously, ironically, of course, I'm about to head to the airport myself, but I'm at home. But mostly I'm at work. I'm at work every day. I work in the working environment. So do you, Carls. But does it worry you where people work, really?
No, not on the slightest. I actually, early in my career, I used to say it when I worked at Main Roads of, why can't we work from home? We have systems and blah, 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 blah. And then COVID, bang, it all happened. And they kept telling us you couldn't do it, but we can. And it's just how you deal with that modality, I think is the right word, like engage people and not let people have, sorry, I'm not going to say anything, Adrian, that they've got good reasons, but making people turn cameras on. It's just a different way of talking to people.
Oh, look, absolutely right. And it's about being real and authentic and speaking the words and being honest. And I'm a big believer, and of course, you know, this is online teaching. I've written about this for 25 years. Synchronous digital is authentic and real. And so you can have great supervisory relationships, never having met a student. I mean, most of my students these days, I never meet, but I meet them once a week with their online meeting, right? So because that's real and authentic and regular, and we're both up for it and meeting. And the idea that our bodies aren't in the same space, that's completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Now we did get 3 questions. We're not going to have time for 3 questions, but we got some requests, so I better just click in a request from beautiful Jen. Hi, Jen, who was, can I say, very impressed. She found us, Megan, for the first time through the Brené Brown conversation. So she'd never seen this before, and now she's seen all the digital office hours and says hello to us also. Jen, that's great. So Jen wanted us to talk about why we think the attrition rates in a PhD are so high. I think that's a great question. I mean, I've got the sort of quant on it, but I'd be interested for those of you that are in a program now or finished one, and we've got both on this call, why, from your perspective, this could change people's lives, why is the attrition rate so high? Anyone got a vibe? Kate, straight in. Go, Kate.
Attrition, or whatever the verb is. I left my last university because of overwhelming, insurmountable problems. I'd finished the PhD, I'd submitted it, but couldn't complete the last little bit, and I left. But almost straight away, I found you, Tara, and I don't know where or how, or somebody said, oh, you've got to listen to this bird. And then I started talking to you, and then I enrolled at Flinders and finished the PhD without
Bless. So, Kate, you're a little bit in and out, sweetheart. The thing is, I suppose, and we'll go to Julie's point, I think, which links in with what you've said there, Kate, that, you know, the person has to have that institutional support, that you've got to be able to understand that institution and the context has got to care for you. Well said, Kate, darling one. We're moving in and out with you, but I'll do that. Go to, bless you, darling. We'll go to Jules and then we'll go to the Doug. So, Jules, obviously, a lot's happening in our universe at the moment with you. But Jules, what's your perspective? Oh no, it's. But Jules, what's your perspective on this, mate?
I think I was quite naive going in, and I realize now, I know once before you said that you no longer sit at the foot of your supervisor, but I actually think in some ways you do, that if you don't have someone who is interested in your field, you can just get shunted from one to the other. I mean, I was one of 12 who joined a leadership institute. 3 have finished, 2 of whom didn't finish at my university. And one woman I spoke to the other day, it took them 4 months to press the submit button, and she's now just found out that they don't have a second examiner. And she's 15 years into her thesis. And, you know, you don't know what the data's doing.
Right.
And we were just shunted from one supervisor to another. And then as the university's goal changed, so closed various institutes, and, you know, their focus is now on technology only. And so if you're in the social sciences, we're not really interested in you. And I think many, you know, I've seen quite a few podcasts, and most of them say your topic is actually irrelevant. It's your supervision that counts. And I think certainly in our field, it's true. I mean, my husband did his in music, and he's saying, oh, we're being mollycoddled and blah, blah. But he did it when God was a child. So.
Well, that's what I did when God was a child. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Carl's another one. We just got to follow Julie around. So Julie, what I'm picking from you is that should students have more information about supervisors? So should they ask the supervisor, how many people have you got through? How long have they taken? And, you know, what's the sociology of that group? You know, have you only got through 21-year-old young men and young women? What's the you think more questions would be useful?
Yes, I think it's quite difficult. You know, it's like going to a doctor and asking how good they are. I'm not sure how you do it. But I look at your setup document, and I think if I had something like that focused me and made me think this is what's important, and you know, I knew that someone had my back, which we did have initially. I mean, we had the most incredible guy who set it up. And I mean, he opened my mind to worlds I'd never thought of. So I know it's possible. And, you know, having met you virtually, I know that it's more than possible.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely see the attrition rate, because it's a very opaque environment. Especially for someone coming from the outside, you know, maybe if you've gone through, which I think a lot of younger people do, you know, they go from a undergraduate straight to a PhD, which I find a bit because, you know, where's the understanding, where's the depth of experience that feeds into a PhD. I also think it's a very lonely business, and that if we were in groups, that would help. Yeah. And I also think that there is a lot of misdirection, especially with younger people, as, you know, you'll get the PhD and then you'll become an academic, and that's no longer true. So that I'll stop there.
No, I think all of that is absolutely superb. And of course, Julie, as always, you and I are linked. One of the reasons we do all these sort of digital connections is if people are in Norfolk Island or down in Victoria or in Toowoomba, then at least you miss the sort of, you're having a cup of coffee with the mate down the corridor. Well, we can sort of do that once a week. And so you're seeing other humans and walking with them on the journey. But Julie, that's powerful. And I did that weird video. It ended up sort of becoming bigger than Ben-Hur on the Uberification of the higher degree. And that's about the volatility of supervisors. So supervisors with the best will in the world can take a student on, but they might not be in work next week. So what happens now? And that's the question of our universities. Ooh, Doug, you're straight in now. Doug, this will be a great story. Talk to me, Doug.
Great story.
Come on, mate. You had a hell of
In
a
2019 to 20, I enrolled part-time in a PhD at Flinders, and shush hugs, the puppy. It was in public health, which I had no background whatsoever in, and it was supervision was once every 3 weeks, which I felt was a bit lacking.
Yeah.
And having no background in the area made it quite hard to, I guess, find my feet.
Well said.
Would be the way to put it. So that was one thing that contributed to me withdrawing. It was a major thing, because I was just constantly just regurgitating, going over, trying to get the getting ready for the confirmation of candidature research proposal up and running.
And look, Doug, I was your dean at the time, and you
Yeah.
were together very, very early on, and I met you then. I adored you. From the moment you enrolled, I thought you were an amazing human being. And I think your metaphor there about not finding your feet, I think, was really astonishing. But I think the thing about that, and I think that's right, but I think the thing is, what we as supervisors do is we ground you. We take you by the hand and we dance with you till you pick up the rhythm. That's the point of a supervisor. So you find your feet by, like all of us, working with somebody who helps you find your feet. And it just it appeared like you were endlessly not being allowed to do that. And as a dean, I felt quite powerless, to be frank.
Yeah. It was disempowering, I must say, and I think that when you leave the program, we had that interview.
We did the exit interview, yes.
And the cat jumped up on my lap and you thought it was a snake. That was funny. Anyway, that was another story. But I think that helped bring in the policy about having background in the subject matter.
Yes. It's interesting. Students, I know it's so uncomfortable. The exit interviews are always difficult, and they're difficult, but they're incredibly important because the people have to listen to what the students are saying. That's how you manage attrition. And from Doug's exit interview, we made a point at Flinders, and I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but it does work, where, look, if you're going to go into a particular program, prove that you've got the disciplinary discourse to be able to do that. The challenge is in public health, multiple disciplines are part.
Exactly. That's why I thought I could do it.
Yeah, I know.
But it was sold to the supervisors that yes, it was a great thesis to do, and they liked it, and I thought sweet, and but 6 months, 12 months in, I thought, no, I'm just headbutting myself against the wall or whatever it is, and I decided on a Friday morning to go.
Yeah, I remember it. But Doug, now this is an important moment for you and I as a family. It's important we share it with our wonderful family and digital office hours. So Doug, you put in an application to go again, to enroll in a different doctorate, a different topic, different university, different supervisor. We are so proud of you. I must not get upset. So Doug, what advice, well said, man, come on. What advice would your former self give to yourself today, Doug? What are you bringing forward from that experience of attrition to ensure success this time? Hard question.
I thought about that because I was doing the setup document yesterday, and I actually might have to edit that because I did put in quite a bit of extra words, but I might leave it for you to have a look at. But I sort of think it's not wanting to sound like it's the last time I can do it. No, that's a bit harsh, I think. But this time I've got the knowledge. I've got the discipline behind me, sociology. Although 98 was the last time I actually did it as a
Discipline.
major.
Yeah.
I did honours this year and last year, so that helps. But I also did social work, so I could have done that. But I know I've got the disciplinary background now, and it's always been a love of mine is sociology. So it's excuse the plane.
Welcome to Adelaide.
So hopefully this time round I'll be able to pull it off.
Doug, I think that's remarkable. And colleagues, in case you sort of missed the narrative of Doug there, after he left the program, he went and did honours. He already has a master's degree. So this man is incredible and inspirational and remarkable. And so, Doug, our job, all of us as a family, is to walk with you. And it's not anybody's last chance. Don't put that pressure on you, brother. You're young, you're virile, you're ready to fight somebody in the car park, Doug. Come on.
I'm 50 this year. Can't be that young.
50,
I know, Kate. I know it's a bit harsh.
Half the people on this call went 50. 50. I got shoes that are older than 50, Doug. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I shouldn't say that. I'm probably the youngest one here.
Yes, you probably. Well, I was going to say, oh God, some people have had a heart attack at this point. Everybody is looking magnificent. We are all where we need to be, age-wise, chronology-wise, and intellectual-wise, and comes in life at different points, Doug. So we're proud of you, but Doug, promise me, and this is important between you and I having this moment, as we enter this next chapter of your life, if you feel something is going wrong or a bit weird or you don't know what's going on, raise it with me, raise it with our colleagues in Digital Office Hours, speak the words, Doug. And if you're not sure necessarily what the words are or put them in the right order, speak the challenge. And let's all of us together, some really, really bright people are on this call that have handled a lot.
Yeah.
Let's try and solve it in real time, okay?
Okay. I promise.
You're very precious, Doug. And there's the Queen herself, Queen Lorraine. Talk to us.
I just coming back to tips for being, quite new. I'm 15 months into my PhD. So I've travelled the journey. There are ups and there are downs. And I think it's in the downs, listening to your vlogs, Tara, hearing your voice, being a part of this community is what's really helped me push through that and not get into that. One of the vlogs that I watched where you are blaming the supervisors because you're feeling either underconfident or overwhelmed, you have to own that and go, okay, what this is my anxiety around what I'm doing, and I'm just looking for somewhere to push it. And so, yes, supervisors obviously are so important. Totally get that, but also it's when, as you say, it's our PhD, it's our thesis, and you have to own that and go, you know what? There's going to be days where I'm going to want to cry and run away and go, I want to give up. But you stay in love with it, keep the good people around you, and push through those difficult times.
Yeah. Oh, well said, Lorraine. And look, Megan, you and I, obviously, we've had about 57 meetings already this morning. But what I'd say, Megan, is bad things happen to good people. I mean, that's, we've all lived that. We've all lived enough life to know good people, bad stuff happens. And then the question is the decisions that the good people make at that moment. And when bad supervision or bad things happen to a good human being, we're not powerless. We have the right to make good decisions, don't we, Megan?
Absolutely. And to make a good decision, you need to know what your own parameters of good is, and you need to be able to communicate. So one thing that I have taught all of my students over the years is a formula for communication that's at ABC, affect, behavior, cognitions. So I feel, insert a feeling word. When you or when I insert the behavior, because insert the cognitions. So therefore, you're always owning your own stuff. I feel anxious when you don't turn up to supervision on time because I think maybe you don't like me. You know, something like that. It's very clear. A, B, C. You take responsibility and then everybody can move forward. And I have thought that many times as I've listened to your vlogs, Tara, on how many people get through a PhD. Like the attrition rate is terrible.
Terrible.
And it's our beg your pardon, it's our PhD, so we need to supervise ourselves. That was another one. Also, the Uberization, that was just fantastic. And one that you just posted yesterday for PD. Oh, yeah, I've watched that twice already. Yeah, I'll be going back to it as well.
Yeah, and it is about backward mapping, and part of Dougster, and Doug's already found it, bless him, part of his colleagues that you have the tools. Part of the reason when I'm doing training for supervisors as much as training for students, I put the supervisory training on the student channel so that you see what I'm trying to do PD for supervisors. So there's nothing hidden. You have the knowledge and you can apply it in your own life as well. Absolutely magnificent. Oh, brilliant. And look, unfortunately, Carol has just joined us right at the end. Carol, darling, we're about to move to Right Club. So Carol, I will see you probably on the Right Club side, but colleagues, can I thank you so much? As you can see, I'm sort of at home. I've got 1 hour with you all, and then I'm hitting the cabin and heading off to the airport. So colleagues, see you for Right Club. For colleagues that are not joining us, have a lovely week. See you next week. Much love, everybody. Doug, keep fighting, brother. Keep fighting. See you, mate. What a start.